Let me tell you a secret most doctors won't put in a prescription. Aging well has very little to do with luck. I've spent over 40 years caring for patients in their 60s, 70s, 80s, even 90s. And after all that time, one thing has become crystal clear. The people who stay healthy into their later years, the ones who walk without pain, think clearly, sleep soundly, and yes, still drive at 92, aren't doing it because of perfect genes or miracle pills. They're doing it because of habits. Small, quiet, daily habits that seem almost too simple to matter, but matter more than anything else. In this video, I want to show you the exact 5 habits I practiced for over 30 years that have helped me avoid illness, preserve my strength, and live independently without a single major health scare. These aren't hacks or trends. They're time-tested rituals that speak directly to the body's natural rhythm, how it wakes, how it moves, how it heals. You don't need a gym membership. You don't need expensive supplements. What you need is a willingness to start gently, start mindfully, and most importantly, start now. And if you're new here, welcome to Daily Elder Advice, the channel where we share science-backed guidance, heartfelt stories, and practical wisdom to help you live longer, feel stronger, and age with dignity. Whether you're in your 60s or well into your 90s, this is a space created for you. We believe getting older doesn't mean getting weaker, it means getting wiser. And you deserve to live those years with clarity, energy, and joy. So if you've ever wondered, what's the real difference between someone who fades with age and someone who thrives, you're about to find out. Because I'm not just going to tell you what I do, I'll show you why it works, how it protects your mind and body, and what you can do today to begin building the kind of health that lasts well into your 80s and 90s. Stick with me through the end, because the last habit I'll share may be the most surprising, and possibly the one that's been quietly shortening your lifespan without you even realizing it. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Morning Wake-Up Ritual. Before your feet hit the floor, wake up the right way. As a doctor who has cared for older adults for over 40 years, I can tell you something with absolute certainty. Most of the injuries, most of the declines in energy, and even most of the chronic conditions I've treated didn't begin with some dramatic medical event. They began quietly, in the first few minutes after waking. I've lost count of how many seniors have seen you fractured a hip, strained their back, or ended up dizzy and disoriented, all because they rushed out of bed too fast. And it's not their fault. No one ever told them that the body after 60, 70, or 80 doesn't wake up the same way it used to. You can't just open your eyes and jump into the day. The blood is still thick from the night, the joints are cold and stiff, and the nervous system is, quite literally, still rebooting from sleep. That's why the very first habit I recommend, one that I personally practice every single morning, is what I call a wake-up ritual. It's not complicated. It doesn't require equipment, flexibility, or even getting out of bed. It takes just 90 seconds, but it sends a powerful message to your brain and body. We're awake. We're ready. Let's begin this day gently and wisely. Here's exactly what I do, and what I teach my patients. Before I lift my head from the pillow, I take 3 deep, slow breaths through the nose, out through the mouth. It slows my heart rate and tells my nervous system there's no threat. No need to rush. Then I slowly begin to wiggle my fingers and toes. It sounds silly, I know, but this light movement wakes up your peripheral nerves and begins pushing blood through your limbs. After that, I rotate my wrists and ankles gently, one at a time, easing the joints into awareness. Finally, I take a moment to slowly roll my neck left and right, stretching the stiff muscles that support balance and coordination. The entire process takes less than 2 minutes, but its effect lasts the entire day. Patients who once struggled with morning fog and balance issues often come back to me weeks later and say, "Doctor, I didn't realize how powerful that little ritual was. I feel steadier, sharper, and I haven't stumbled since." And they're right, because this isn't just an old man's routine, it's backed by real science. The National Institute on Aging has shown that simple, low-impact movement upon waking significantly improves circulation, lowers morning cortisol spikes, and even improves reaction time and clarity in older adults. But the real power of this ritual isn't in the stretching, it's in the consistency. When done daily, It trains your body to transition from rest to activity with grace, not strain. You'd never start your car on a winter morning and slam the accelerator. You'd let it warm up first. Why wouldn't you do the same for the one body you've been given? I've seen what happens when older adults skip this. A misstep, a dizzy spell, a fall that leads to surgery or months of recovery. But I've also seen the opposite, patients in their 70s, 80s, even 90s, who took control of their mornings and, slowly, took control of their health. So tomorrow, before you reach for your phone or swing your legs over the bed, pause, breathe, move gently. And before we move on to the next chapter, let me gently remind you, if you found even one useful insight so far, there's so much more still to come. In the second half of this video, we'll talk about how eggs affect your blood sugar, your heart, your physical strength, and even the science behind why they might help you live longer. If you're enjoying this journey, please take a second to click the subscribe button. It means the world to us, and it helps more people like you discover life-changing, age-wise advice, and I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned so far that surprised you? Leave a comment below with the number of the chapter that resonated most. Let's keep learning from one another. And tell your body, we begin this day together, because aging may be inevitable, but decline is not. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is slow down, just long enough to start right. Chapter 2. The Golden Morning Drink. A simple glass. 3 decades without sickness. I've had patients come into my clinic with shelves full of supplements. Little jars labeled anti-aging, immune booster, super greens, or vitality formula. They show me these bottles with hope in their eyes and a bit of desperation in their voice, asking, "Doctor, which one of these actually works?" And I always smile before I answer, because the truth is, the most powerful thing I've taken for my immune system for the past 30 years doesn't come in a bottle. It comes in a cup. Every morning, before I drink coffee, before I eat anything, I begin my day with a glass of warm water mixed with 3 simple ingredients: fresh lemon juice, ground turmeric, and a tiny pinch of black pepper. That's it. No fancy packaging, no celebrity endorsement, just 3 ancient elements that have kept my digestion smooth, my joints supple, and my immune system sharp. You see, the older you get, the more your body appreciates simplicity when it's done consistently and with intention. Lemon, in this little mixture, is far more than a flavor. It's rich in vitamin C, which supports the production of white blood cells, the very front line of your immune defense. But it also gently wakes up your liver and boosts bile flow, which is critical for digestion, especially as we age and naturally begin to produce less stomach acid. That's one of the hidden causes of bloating, indigestion, and nutrient loss in older adults. Just half a lemon squeezed into warm water can begin to reverse that trend. Then comes turmeric, the golden root. Now, I've spent years studying the effects of inflammation on aging, how it quietly damages the joints, the brain, even the heart. Turmeric contains curcumin, one of the most powerful natural anti-inflammatory compounds known to modern science. Dozens of studies, including one in Frontiers in Pharmacology, show curcumin's ability to reduce inflammatory markers, ease joint pain, and support cognitive function. But here's the catch: curcumin is notoriously hard to absorb. And that's where the black pepper comes in. It contains a compound called piperine, which enhances curcumin absorption by up to 2.000%. Without it, you're just coloring your water. With it, you're feeding your cells. I call this drink my golden glass. It takes less than 5 minutes to prepare, but it has kept me flu-free for decades. And no, it's not magic, it's habit. When I first began drinking it, nearly 30 years ago, I was getting sinus infections twice a year. Every winter, my knees would ache, my digestion was sluggish and unpredictable. But after 2 weeks of starting this ritual, something shifted. I had more energy after breakfast. My joints didn't creak when I walked downstairs. And perhaps most surprisingly of all, I realized I hadn't caught a cold in months. That trend continued year after year. It wasn't that I never encountered viruses, I just stopped giving them a warm welcome. My immune system became sharp, like a doorman trained to recognize trouble before it walks through the door. And I know what you might be thinking. Does something this simple really make a difference? My answer is always the same. only if you do it. It's not the turmeric that works. It's the fact that you respect your body enough to start the day with a healing signal. Most people reach for coffee first, spiking their stress hormones before their digestive system even has a chance to wake up. But warm water, gentle, infused with lemon and turmeric, tells your system, we're easing into the day. We're here to heal. That's a very different message than caffeine and panic, and your body listens. So here's how to do it. Warm 1 cup of water, not boiling, just comfortable to drink. Squeeze in half a lemon. Add 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric powder and a tiny pinch of black pepper. Stir, sip slowly. Think of it not as a task, but as a gift you give your body before asking it to serve you all day long. I've had this drink nearly every morning for 3 decades, not because a commercial told me to, but because my body showed me the results. It's not a miracle, it's a message. I care enough to start with health. Tomorrow morning, before the toast pops, before the headlines flash across your screen, pour yourself a golden glass. And as you sip it, don't just think about the ingredients. Think about what you're really doing. You're nourishing your immunity, your joints, your digestion, but more than that, you're choosing intention over autopilot. You're starting the day not by reacting, but by aligning. And if there's one secret I've learned after 92 years and 3 decades of wellness, it's this: the body responds to kindness, especially first thing in the morning. Chapter 3: The Healing Walk. I don't walk to exercise. I walk to heal. I don't walk because I'm trying to stay fit. I don't walk to lose weight or to hit 10,000 steps on a smartwatch. At 62 years old, I walk because it heals me from the inside out, and I've been doing it every single day for over 30 years. Rain or shine, even when I don't feel like it. Especially when I don't feel like it. You see, most people think of walking as something secondary, a backup plan for when you're too tired to run or too old to do jumping jacks. But let me tell you, walking is not what you do when there's nothing else left. Walking is the foundation. It's the most underestimated form of medicine we have, and it's free. I still remember the moment I changed my relationship with walking. I was 61. I had just retired from running. I used to jog a few miles every other day, thinking that sweating hard was the secret to staying young. But my knees began to ache. My energy dipped. I read a study that changed everything. It showed that gentle, consistent walking can reduce systemic inflammation, regulate blood sugar, improve cardiovascular health, and even lower your risk of premature death by nearly 40%. That was the wake-up call. I realized I didn't need intensity. I needed rhythm. I needed consistency. And so I began what I now call my daily healing walk. Each morning, after I finish my golden drink, I put on a comfortable pair of shoes, good support, no fancy brand. I step outside, no matter the weather, no headphones, no phone, just breath and movement. I don't walk fast, I don't walk far, but I walk presently. With every step, I feel the ground, I feel my spine lengthen, my shoulders pull back, my chest open. I match my breath to my pace, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. It's like tuning an instrument before a performance. And what happens inside my body is subtle, but profound. My joints loosen, my digestion kickstarts, my thoughts become clearer, and perhaps most importantly, my nervous system calms down. There's something special that happens when you walk with intention. Your lymphatic system begins to move, helping remove toxins from the body. Your balance improves, your mind stops spinning. There's a study from Stanford that found walking boosts creativity and problem-solving more than any seated activity. Another study in the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that just 20 minutes of walking significantly reduced inflammatory markers in older adults. I didn't need those studies to convince me, but it's nice to know that science has finally caught up to what I felt all along. I remember one morning, about 25 years ago, when I skipped my walk. I told myself I was too busy. I'd do it later, but the day passed, and I never got around to it. And for the first time in years, I felt old, not sick, not tired, just old. Like my joints belonged to someone else. Like my lungs forgot how to stretch. That was the day I promised I would never skip it again. And I haven't, because this is not exercise. This is a ritual, a kind of moving meditation that reminds my body it's still alive. Still capable, still here. There's one more thing I do that might surprise you. I smile while I walk. Not because I'm happy, but because smiling makes me happy. It activates the vagus nerve, a powerful part of the parasympathetic nervous system that regulates inflammation, heart rate, and digestion. A study in psychosomatic medicine found that smiling during movement amplifies the stress-reducing effects of physical activity. Isn't that beautiful? Something as small as a smile, paired with motion, becomes a kind of healing medicine. So if you're listening to this and you've been feeling stiff, stuck, or foggy, don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for energy. Walking gives you energy. Just open the door, take one step, then another. Don't worry about distance. Worry about presence, about intention, about breathing through your steps and sending a message to your body that says, we still move, we still heal, we still live. Because motion isn't just about the body. Motion is life. And when you walk each day with purpose, you're not just moving, you're staying young. Chapter 4. The Brain and Body Breakfast. What you eat in the morning shapes the rest of your day. When people ask me what the most underrated medicine is for older adults, I don't point to a pill or a new therapy. I point to the breakfast plate, not because I think breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That phrase has been overused and misunderstood, but because for those of us past 60, breakfast is no longer optional. It's foundational. And if there's one thing I've seen over and over in my patients, it's that a protein-rich morning meal can transform everything: your memory, your strength, your blood sugar, even how clearly you think and how deeply you sleep. I still remember a patient of mine, Mr. Henderson. He was 68 when he came in. A proud grandfather, full of stories, but lately, he said, something felt off. He was tired by 10 a.m., had trouble focusing during morning conversations, and told me that he sometimes skipped breakfast or just had toast and tea. I'm eating clean, he said, mostly fruit, some whole grains, no red meat, and yet, he was losing muscle. He'd had 2 small infections in the past 6 months and was starting to forget simple things: his daughter's birthday, where he left his car keys. He chalked it up to aging, but I didn't. After running a few tests and sitting down with him, I gave him a simple explanation. Your body isn't breaking down. It's underfueled. You're not getting enough of the single most essential nutrient after age 60, protein. You see, after we pass 60, our bodies become less efficient at using protein. The same amount that kept us strong at 40 isn't enough anymore. It's like trying to power a house with batteries that no longer hold a full charge. We don't just need protein to build muscles, we need it to keep our immune cells strong, our brain chemicals balanced, and our healing responses fast. Without it, even small wounds heal slower, memory begins to dull, and our resilience, physical and emotional, begins to erode. That's why every morning, without fail, I prepare what I call my brain and body breakfast. It's not a feast, it's not fancy, but it's powerful. 1 boiled egg for complete protein and choline, which supports memory. A cup of plain Greek yogurt for muscle-building casein and gut-friendly probiotics. A small handful of walnuts for healthy fats and brain protection. And a few blueberries, nature's antioxidant jewels that support cognitive longevity. All in all, over 25 grams of high-quality protein, the perfect foundation for a body that still wants to be strong, sharp, and active. What happened to Mr. Henderson? I asked him to try that same breakfast for 3 weeks. That's it. No major changes, no diet overhaul, just start the day with this combination. Then listen to your body. He returned a month later, and I'll never forget the look in his eyes. Doc, he said, I feel like someone turned the lights back on. His morning fatigue had faded. He wasn't forgetting things like before. Even his wife noticed his posture had improved. You walk like you're 10 years younger, she told him. There's real science behind this. A landmark study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that adults over 65 who consume 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal have better muscle mass, lower rates of hospitalization, and longer lifespans. Another from Tufts University showed that higher protein intake leads to stronger immune responses, especially important when recovering from illness or surgery. And yet, too many seniors still start their day with empty carbs and wonder why they crash by mid-morning. Let me be clear, protein isn't just for bodybuilders. It's for every single cell in your body that wants to heal, to think clearly, to move confidently, and the morning is the best time to fuel it. Why? Because after fasting all night, your body is looking for building blocks. If you give it toast and coffee, you're fueling a fire with paper. But if you give it protein, you're adding hardwood, sustainable, stabilizing, and strong. There are many ways to build this kind of breakfast. Some days, I'll switch out the egg for cottage cheese and flax seeds. Other times, I might have a slice of sprouted grain toast with mashed avocado and a poached egg on top. If I'm feeling adventurous, I'll scramble lentils with spinach and turmeric. The options are endless, but the rule is the same: never start the day without protein. Because when you feed your body first, it gives back all day. Your mind focuses. Your muscles stay ready. Your cravings don't hijack you. Your blood sugar stays steady. And your confidence, yes, confidence, begins to rebuild. You feel prepared, not depleted. And that's the quiet power of the brain and body breakfast. So tomorrow morning, before the emails, before the pills, before the noise of the world rushes in, pause, feed yourself first, and know that this single, consistent act is doing more than just filling your stomach. It's telling your entire system, today, we are strong. Today, we are capable. Today, we are still becoming. Chapter 5, Mental Tuning. Train your mind first, and the body will follow. I've treated thousands of patients over the years, some full of energy well into their 80s and 90s, and others who seemed worn down by life before they even reached retirement. And you might assume the difference came down to exercise, medication, or maybe genetics, but I'll let you in on a quiet truth most doctors don't talk about. The strongest bodies I've seen in older age usually belong to those with the most disciplined minds. Let me explain. Every morning, before I speak a word, before I check the weather or read the news, I give myself 3 minutes of silence. Not to meditate, not to pray, not even to think, but to tune. I sit in stillness and imagine what kind of day I want to have. Not what I want to do, what I want to feel. I picture myself moving through the day with strength, calm, patience. I visualize myself driving to the store, carrying groceries with steady hands, listening to someone with full presence, laughing without worry. I don't try to control the world. I simply prepare my nervous system to meet it with grace. It may sound soft, abstract, even silly, but neuroscience would disagree. Functional MRI studies from Harvard and Stanford show that when we vividly imagine actions like walking, speaking, or even breathing calmly, the brain activates the same neural circuits as when we perform those actions in real life. That means your brain can't always distinguish between memory, imagination, and reality. And with repetition, it rewires your body's response to stress, movement, and focus. I remember a woman named Grace, a retired school teacher who came to see me when she was 74. She had no major illnesses, but she was always anxious. Her sleep was light, her blood pressure was creeping up. She was tired before noon. I can't turn my brain off, she told me. I keep thinking about what might go wrong. We tried walks, supplements, breathing exercises, but what finally helped was the simplest tool of all. I asked her to spend 3 minutes every morning sitting quietly and visualizing the exact opposite of her usual thoughts. Instead of worrying about falling, imagine walking confidently. Instead of fearing memory loss, imagine holding your grandchild's name on your tongue with ease. At first, she resisted. It feels fake, she said, but a month later, she smiled in my office and told me, I don't know how or why, but I'm not waking up in panic anymore. My mornings feel lighter. That's the power of mental rehearsal. And it's especially potent in older adults, because we carry decades of beliefs about what we should feel at a certain age. At 70, I'll be forgetful. At 80, I'll slow down. These scripts play like background music in the brain. But visualization lets you rewrite the music. And the more you practice, the more your body listens. There's also a physical effect. Chronic stress, especially the silent kind, releases cortisol, which in high amounts damages brain cells, weakens immunity, and even strips muscle mass. That's why mental fatigue isn't just in your head. It literally makes you physically weaker. But when you spend even a few minutes each day imagining strength, calm, instability, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, the one that heals. Your heart rate slows. Your immune cells activate. your digestion improves, you become more resistant to illness, more adaptable to life's curveballs, and you begin to reclaim the inner authority that stress has stolen from you. I do this practice every morning like brushing my teeth. Sometimes I sit on the edge of the bed. Sometimes in my chair by the window. I breathe slowly and ask, what kind of human do I want to be today? Not what should I do, but who should I be? Calm, present, resilient. That simple question sets the tone for everything else. You don't need a mantra. You don't need to sit in lotus pose. You don't need candles, or music, or a guru on YouTube. You just need yourself, 3 minutes, and a willingness to believe that your mind isn't just a passenger in your health, it's the driver. So tomorrow morning, before you reach for the remote or the pillbox or the to-do list, take those 3 minutes. Picture strength. Picture stability. Picture yourself behind the wheel, clear-eyed, smiling, and don't be surprised if, over time, that picture becomes your reality. Because the body responds to what the mind rehearses. That's not a theory, that's biology. And if you've ever said, I feel too old to change, let me tell you as a doctor who's seen the evidence, your brain is never too old to rewire. But it won't happen by accident. It begins with intention. It begins with you. So give your mind its moment. Tune it like an instrument, because if your thoughts are steady, your body will follow. If you've come this far with me, listening to each of the 5 habits I've shared not just as checklists, but as invitations to live differently, then I want to tell you something few people hear after 70, or even after 60. You still have power, tremendous power, not just to survive, but to shape the way you age, not through miracles, but through moments, through the kind of quiet, consistent, almost invisible choices that most people overlook, but that your body never forgets. I've been a doctor for over 40 years. I've held the hands of patients who aged with grace and strength. And I've watched others slowly unravel, not because of one disease, but because they lost the rhythm of caring for themselves. What I've learned is this: your health doesn't vanish all at once. It slits away, one skipped walk, one missed meal, one rushed morning, one anxious thought at a time. But the good news, it returns the same way, quietly, patiently, in the form of 5 simple practices done each day with love. Not perfection. It starts before your feet touch the floor. Those 90 seconds of gentle movement that say to your body, I'm still here, and I still care. Then comes the golden drink, not because turmeric is trendy, but because it tells your immune system, wake up gently, heal deeply. Then the healing walk, where motion becomes medicine, not a chore. The high-protein breakfast that fuels your strength, memory, and resilience, not for vanity, but for vitality. And finally, the mental tuning, 3 sacred minutes each morning when you train your thoughts to lead your biology instead of react to fear. 5 habits, 5 promises you make to yourself. And here's what's most remarkable: none of them require youth. None of them demand strength. They ask only for presence, for patience, for repetition, and they repay you not just in years, but in quality, in the ability to stand tall, to think clearly, to move freely, to love without fear of falling apart. I've known patients who began these habits at 60, and I've known others who didn't start until 85. And in both cases, I've watched the same thing happen. The body listens, the mind follows, and a kind of quiet dignity returns. That's what I call aging strong. It's not about pretending you're 40. It's about honoring the truth of your age while refusing to surrender your authority over it. You may not control genetics. You may not reverse time, but you can still choose how you meet each morning, how you move, what you feed your body, what thoughts you allow to settle. And with those choices, day after day, you write a different ending to your own story. So if you're still wondering whether it's too late, whether these habits can still help you, I want you to look around. Look inward, and remember this: you're still here. That means your body still wants to heal. Your mind still wants clarity. Your soul still wants strength. And all you had to do is meet it halfway. Start small. Start tomorrow. Start with one habit, then another. Let your life become a string of kind, repeated acts. Let your health return in whispers, not shouts, because the art of aging strong isn't loud. It's quiet, it's gentle, and it's still within reach.